Fantasy football podcast called Living the Stream comes to you each week. Streaming recommendations during NFL season, it's not just tongue-in-cheek. Quarterback, defense, tight end recommendations based on opposition matchup. Here are your podcast hosts, JJ Zacharyson and Danny Carter, living the stream.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Living the Stream. I'm JJ Zacharyson, the late round quarterback, and as always, I am joined by my lovely, lovely co-host, Denny Carter, the ninth. Denny, how's it going, buddy?
Doing well. I just want to start the show, and folks who are watching on the live stream will notice this. Listen, guys, I grew up a Dolphins fan. Okay, I was a diehard. I'm talking about weeping real tears throughout the 90s, throughout the early 2000s over the Dolphins. Okay, so I was a fan. Then I wasn't, but folks, I'm back. I'm all the way back. These are our Dolphins. These are our analytics kings, scoring 70 points. They could have scored 100. I stand by that. Robbie Anderson, Robbie Chosen said the same thing. By the way, they could have scored 100. So they're my Dolphins again.
Okay, a few things that I want to say. Want to throw out there. So number one, I'm also a Dolphins fan. There's a live stream. There's footage of this in 2000. It was the COVID draft. Yeah, sorry, 2020. There's the COVID draft, and during that draft, that live stream, I was doing it for FanDuel with Jim Sonis and Brandon Gadula. I became a Dolphins fan during that draft, and that was a two-way draft, right? Yeah. So I became a Dolphins fan during that draft. And there's video footage of it, so it is our Dolphins.
Dolphins. Let's go. This is a Fins podcast. Sorry if you triggered Bills fans.
Yeah. Second, Robbie Anderson has ruined spreadsheets. Just completely ruined spreadsheets.
I know.
He's had 8 different names over the last 2 years.
It really does change all the time. And now Devin Achan wants his name to be pronounced differently. So
yeah, so that's another thing that really annoys me. But I think so. I feel bad for so he wants to be Achan. Okay, this is the first time because I recorded my episode yesterday for 15 transactions. I had to do it early because my daughter was home from school because they had like one of those like teacher service days or whatever. And my daughter's home from school. I'm like, I got to get this done quicker because, we're splitting duties right now, parenting. We don't want her to just be in front of her iPad all day, even though she was still in front of her iPad for a large portion of the day.
Yeah. Is that bad?
So, yeah, it's fine. Her brain's only going to be mush when she's 14. So I recorded my podcast early and I had Devon Achan. He was part of the podcast.
Easy.
And I kept saying A-Chain on the podcast, but I'm like, there's no way I'm going to re-record this thing. Like there's no chance I'm redoing this after. And not only that, if you go back and you look at all the stuff from college and him coming out, like in my prospect guide, like I try to be very, very precise and strict. I mean, you know how I am with this kind of stuff.
You're huge on names. Very careful.
Right. And so with Devon Achan, still can't get used to it. He didn't even have the apostrophe in his first name for a long time. It was just Devon. And so my prospect guide, my spreadsheets, all my college data is Devon.
Right.
And then all of a sudden there's all these sites are putting an apostrophe in it. And then I look at his Twitter account and there is an apostrophe in his name. It's like that all of these colleges they just didn't care that he they didn't ask him like how to say your name, how to spell your name. They're just like, this sounds about right. I'm going to throw it in there.
I know, but I do have a feeling. Look, the Dolphins have a tradition going back to Patrick Surtain who literally changed the pronunciation of his name every 3 to 4 weeks during his Dolphins career. I have a feeling at some point this season, Achan is going to request another name change to A-Chain. We'll see.
Yeah, A-Chain's better than A-Chain.
Yes. Yeah, A-Chain. A-Chain is way better. But just getting back to the Dolphins performance. So I actually covered the Dolphins Broncos game for NBC. It was one of my 2 games on the day. And, I was looking forward to it because I thought it would be a good fantasy game, two okay defenses, whatever. I did not see that coming, obviously. And honestly, it could have been way, way better for the Broncos. That game, like there were some critical mistakes by the Broncos in that game that really crushed the fantasy kind of back and forth that could have happened there. Courtland Sutton had two of the softest fumbles in the history of the game. I'm talking about the guys holding the ball. I don't know if you can see it, like out here, like 3 feet away from his body, gets the ball slapped. That ruined the whole fantasy game, but it was fun. It was fun if you had some Dolphins players.
Well, that's the thing. Fantasy football through 3 weeks is literally, do you have Dolphins players? Okay, you're 2-1 or 3-0. Do you not have Dolphins players? Okay, you're 1-2 or 0-3.
Yeah, that's kind of it.
It's really like I hate when fantasy football, it usually evens out. We saw this a little bit last year, but I hate when fantasy football has like 4 or 5, like just break everything type players, because if you don't have those guys, then you're screwed. And then it doesn't matter the kind of analysis you're doing,
right?
Like the advice you're giving. It just doesn't matter if it's not those guys. It was Puka Nacua for the first couple of weeks, but obviously week 1, we're not starting him. And so, week 2 is even risky to start him because he was banged up. And then obviously week 3 happens. He doesn't do anything whenever people actually put him in their lineup. And so that's been the frustration for me the start of the season, is that especially I kept getting positioned in my draft. I'm ranting now a little bit, but I kept getting positioned in my drafts, in my redraft leagues towards the end. Like I was, in like that 10 to 12 range very often. And the front of the drafts is just so much better right now so far this year. You got Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Christian McCaffrey. Nothing else matters. It's crazy.
Yeah. Crazy. I thought Calvin Ridley would matter. Turns out doesn't at all. No. We thought Garrett Wilson would matter a lot. Not literally not at all. Like you can't even play. I mean, yeah. You are right about that. I'm lucky to have avoided the Cooper Kupp bomb.
I did not avoid the Cooper Kupp bomb. I'm hoping and praying that week 5 comes and he's ready to roll. Because I mean, look, if Cooper Kupp's playing week 5, I mean, he's not quite Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, but he's in that Stephon Diggs tier right away, right? You would imagine. Yeah. So
can I ask you a real quick question? I brought this up on X the other day. Who is the more unstoppable receiver in your opinion? And you can just go from the gut or cite stats, whatever. Is it Jefferson or is it Tyreek?
It might be Tyreek Hill.
I say it's Tyreek. Yeah.
From the standpoint of being unstoppable, right? I think Justin Jefferson is like the more polished, receiver and the better route runner and such. But just in terms of like completely just being unguardable and just hard to actually. Yeah. I mean, look, you're talking about they're both unstoppable. I mean, they're both incredible players.
I do think
Tyreek Hill is just different, man.
Yeah, I just don't think that you can stop I guess it's the way that Tyreek Hill is used in the Dolphins offense too. It's like it's not fair to be the fastest guy alive and to have a coach who wants to use you in a way that gets you open. Like that just doesn't happen very often. Yeah. And that confluence has created, I think, like literally an unstoppable receiver in Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, it's crazy. And Mike McDaniel, man, I mean, the whole team, the whole environment there in Miami, so easy to root for. Like, yeah, is there a more likable head coach in the history of the NFL than Mike McDaniel?
No,
there's not. He is the most likable head coach of all time.
He's one of us. He's one of us.
He is. He's amazing. I just hope and pray there's no controversy that someday comes out about Mike McDaniel. That would ruin my soul. It would ruin my soul. Please be a good person, Mike McDaniel. Please.
Yes. Can we get a one time on Mike McDaniel?
Oh, yes, please. Speaking of sort of off the field controversies, I have a take. I love the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce stuff. I love it. I mean, are you surprised that I love it though?
No.
I think that's a pretty JJ thing.
I mean, I don't really have a hard and fast. I've tried. Listen, over the past 48 hours, I've tried to come up with a hard and fast take on how I feel about this, and I don't have one. I know that's weird for me. I usually have like, well, this is the way it is.
Yeah, especially on this.
Yeah, but I don't. I mean, I think it could get old. I mentioned it, by the way, on the Tilt montage, which you can find at the end of the show. I mentioned the analytics of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, which there are. I think there is an analytical angle there, but I guess it's cool. I mean, to have the most famous person on earth dating, a superstar, an NFL superstar.
The only thing that I can't stand with it anymore is all of the not creative, but people thinking they're creative writing, using her song lyrics or her song titles when speaking about the topic. I'm over it. Like the first couple times when people did it, like when Schefter was sort of breaking the news, like when it was very, very new, that was funny. But it's literally every time people were just citing, Taylor Swift lyrics or songs or what have you when talking about this. I'm over that. I'm very much over that. And if you're doing that still, you're not doing anything profoundly new and creative. Don't think that you're being smart.
I want to welcome Swifties, and look, I'm not saying that Swifties are not into football already. There is some overlap. I'm positive of that. But overall, I'm thinking that Swifties have a new interest in football and organized football, and the way that they speed run through topics and subjects related to Taylor Swift. I'm sure we're going to have Swifties talking about pass rate over expected in about 3 days here. Okay?
Yeah, right.
These people are intense. Trust me.
They're intense. And also, let's throw this out there. Again, if we're going to speak about celebrities that seemingly have it together, have their ish together, there are way worse celebrities to be sort of these ambassadors or these like this connection and common ground from folks who might not be into football to then be coming into football because of this person than Taylor Swift. I mean, like from what we know, she does not seem like a bad role model-esque type person, right? Compared to a lot of other celebrities that are out there. So that's at least good too.
Yeah. I mean, she manages her reputation maybe more carefully than anybody to ever have lived on earth. And that's paid off with the squeaky clean image. So yeah, could be way worse. But I'm actually a little bit scared that my job is going to be taken by the Swifties storming into fantasy football soon.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's very, very possible given how intense they all are. But I got to say, I still haven't watched the Jason Kelce documentary. I really want to watch that. The one on that just followed his life last year. I think Connor Barwin did it. The old linebacker, and wasn't he a linebacker?
Yeah, I think so.
They played together at Cincinnati, I believe, and so they followed Jason Kelce around, and they did it was during the Super Bowl run and stuff like that. And it was just apparently it's a very like wholesome, like he's another guy his stardom has just been insane over basically since they probably won the Super Bowl when he was like on the float and stuff. But it's been even more insane with their podcast and him getting more and more popular. But he, of all players in the NFL, he seems like the one dude that would be so much fun to just chill with, just have a beer with. They
seem like normal guys. I would say Jason Kelce seems way more normal than Travis.
Yes, but he's an offensive lineman are the most normal or very, very normal.
Like I don't really think I could hang out with Travis. I feel like he's way too cool for me.
He seems like a goofball, and he seems like someone who I agree. We're past the Travis. We're into the Jason Kelce stage of our life.
Yes, I'm good with whatever he's talking about and doing, but Travis is, I just feel like I just wouldn't have anything to say at some point. I just feel like he would just dominate the conversation. And I would be like, yeah, man, totally. That's whatever you just said is true.
Yeah. No, it is funny that like Travis to Jason Kelce is like any American male going from their like early 30s to mid to late 30s. Like it's like that you go from party mode going out all the time to being a father and staying at home.
I will say, I think that the one thing that I could talk to Travis Kelce about was both of us being infected by the woke mind virus. I think that would be something that we could collaborate on.
This is true. He's now doing a lot of commercials that certain people don't enjoy. Diego says Travis definitely still pulls his friend's pants down.
Yes. That's the mind virus, by the way, at work. You can't help but de-pants your friends.
Right. That's what all the leftists do, right? Whenever they go to work, it's just pull everyone's pants down.
What I do. That's what I do. Well, you can't help it.
Let's recap what happened in week 3. Not a great week. Matthew Stafford only scored 11.5 points. CJ Stroud had a good game, 20.6 points. Derek Carr only 8.1, obviously got injured. Luke Musgrave scores 11 in a tough matchup last week, which was good. Jake Ferguson, 9.8. That's totally fine. Zach Ertz only 2.6. Durham Smythe only 2.5. Smythe didn't even run the most routes for his team at tight end this past week. I don't know if you saw this or not.
Yeah.
But there's a man, and he's not a streamer, but he's someone to maybe have on your radar. Maybe just at least understand that he exists in the world. His name is Julian Hill, and I'm bringing him up too because you know where he went to college?
I'm guessing he went to the University of Pittsburgh.
He did not, but I have a connection here. He went to Campbell University. Okay, Campbell is where my brother went to school. It's in Bowie's Creek, North Carolina. It's not. I think their football program came back like 6 years ago. So it's it's crazy that there's an NFL player that went to Campbell. But Julian Hill, decent athleticism. I mean, it could be at least semi-interesting to see if something happens there.
Yeah, I mean, I think Smythe may have been hurt by the crazy game script. Haven't looked too strongly into that, but I mean, the Dolphins are pulling starters throughout the second half of that game.
Yeah, I mean, but even still, Hill ended up running the second most routes on that team. Like he ran below Tyreek Hill, right? So, if you sort of juxtapose those two, you can at least see that he was involved in some way. The Jags were probably the most disappointing defense of the season. We had the Giants. They didn't do well. And then against the Cardinals, and then the Jags last week against the Texans. My God, I'm talking about the week before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then this past week, the Jags, I've had a lot of pushback from folks in the late round fantasy football Discord. There's some people saying that you can't stream defenses or you can't stream bad defenses in these certain matchups. I think process-wise, it was still fine to play Jacksonville against Houston. Like, if they were to play tomorrow, number one, I don't think the outcome would be the same. And number two, I don't think the defense would play nearly as poorly as it played, in week 3. Look at week 2; they were not that bad against Kansas City. I mean, this is just the nature of what happens in fantasy football and in football. There's just a lot of variation.
Right, and also defenses. I mean, obviously, extremely hard to project and predict. Lots of variance there with defensive scoring. But I mean, they depend on that team's offense to function okay too, to create the sort of game script that leads to sacks, that leads to interceptions and things like that. And that's not what happened. The Jags offense played really poorly, obviously, and it put the Texans offense in a position where they were not going to, take those sacks and have to throw a bunch of times in the second half, which they didn't. Actually, they were under their expected pass rate. So I think that the Jaguars offense kind of doomed the defense this week. Yeah,
for sure. That happens sometimes. Kansas City was a great play against Chicago. That was not surprising. They scored 11, and then Seattle was okay enough. They had 3, below average performance, but we've definitely had worse, like Jacksonville. So I'd say overall, I'd give us like a 69 out of 100 this past week.
Sounds nice enough to me.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to week 4. I'll kick things off, Denny. I'm going to go with Kenny Pickett against Houston. And I got to say, I don't love the play. I don't love Pickett against Houston. If you have to play Pickett, I think that like there's another guy that I'm going to be talking about who I like more than Pickett this week. I'll say that. So the reason I don't love Pickett, but I'm still talking about him because it's rough out there just in general. When you look at like the percent roster numbers, Houston's actually been below average as an opponent in adjusted fantasy points allowed. They were a tough opponent from an adjusted fantasy points allowed standpoint last year too. Lamar Jackson, QB set 27 against them. I know there was like some weather and stuff, but then they rushed for a lot of their touchdowns, but QB 27 against them. Anthony Richardson was going to have a big day against them, but then he got hurt. That was fine. And then Trevor Lawrence last week. I mean, it's not like there's been, bulldozing going on when these quarterbacks are facing this Texans defense. And, with the Steelers, one of the big things that we should always be concerned about is that front, their offensive line, protecting Kenny Pickett. Fortunately, they're not going to face. I mean, literally weeks 1 and 2, they faced the 2 toughest fronts probably in football, where they went San Francisco and then Cleveland, right? That's not going to happen week in and week out. And we saw them be a lot more competent against Vegas this past week. Still not great, but like at least, a competent can move the ball offense. Houston's actually been 5th in the league so far, according to Next Gen Stats, in pressure rate. So they've actually gotten to the quarterback at a decent clip. That's a little bit concerning. Now, pressure rate, it can alter and change from source to source. And, someone might call it a pressure when you have these mobile quarterbacks and they face Lamar Jackson and Anthony Richardson so far this season. So, you might register some of those like scrambles as like pressures or what have you, but those guys were actually just kind of planning on escaping the pocket quicker than what a general pocket passer would be doing. But I do think that it's noteworthy, right? That Houston's been able to get to the quarterback. So I don't feel unreal about Kenny Pickett because of those few things. Now, they do have the 16th best implied team total on the slate. Like I said, they're not going to play Cleveland and San Francisco every week. So I think that it's a better matchup than those. But I just have a hard time going with Pickett past I haven't done my rankings yet, but I can't imagine he's going to be past like mid QB2, low end QB2 range.
Yeah. I actually think we can't glean much off of any matchup against Cleveland because they've been so good defensively. So yeah, it lightens up for sure. All right. Well, look, Derek Carr is out for a while at least, and that means Jameis Winston gets a revenge game, folks, against the Bucs this week. Expected to start. Obviously, the revenge thing is all I need to say. Really, we could just move on, but I will say a few more things. The Saints are actually 13th in pass rate over expected, which is a bit of a surprise considering how they operated last year. I'm pretty sure that that's not just a Derek Carr thing. That probably will keep up with Winston. In relief of Derek Carr last week, Jameis was actually not like old Jameis, like crazy, turnover plagued Jameis. He had no turnover worthy plays on 17 dropbacks last week against Green Bay. He threw for 101 yards on 6.3 adjusted yards per attempt. So a lot of check downs, a lot of short throws, which is not something we hate overall. This is not a great matchup, but Tampa Bay is a pass funnel. So we have that going for us, which is nice. I think you could do worse than Jameis.
Yeah, I think so too. The other quarterback that I think is, honestly, maybe you disagree, but I think this is the best quarterback streamer of the week. Maybe you disagree.
Wait,
but it's Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, look, the numbers say you're right. So there's
it's really hard to not see this as number one, a good matchup. He gets the Chargers this week. Nice game environment, 47.5 point over under. The Chargers have been really bad against wide receivers this year. And obviously that's where Vegas has been funneling their targets. Jacoby Myers and Devontae Adams are basically their whole entire passing offense right now.
Yeah.
And Jimmy G, man, he's been throwing it down the field. He's top 5 so far in the league in air yards per attempt. He's thrown at 15 plus air yards at the second highest rate in football. So I think that combined with the game environment and a potential negative game script for them because they're 6-point underdogs. I like Jimmy G this week from like a streaming perspective. Obviously, I'm not starting him over normal QB1s, but I think I'll have him ranked sort of in that like QB 15 range or so.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy G continues to be an analytics king, which is disturbing on some level because it's just, when you watch, it's not the best watch. That's what I'll say. And if you put any pressure on this guy, it all falls apart.
We should say that he is in concussion protocol right now. So obviously don't play him if he doesn't go.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Oh,
but I believe he suffered it. Like, I think he like played through it against Pittsburgh and then is now in protocol. So there's just stuff to follow and monitor moving forward. That was Dusty threw it out there. And yes, he's correct that Jimmy G's in concussion protocol. So just make sure that you're understanding of that.
Oh, that hit late in the game from Fitzpatrick. Yeah. Minka Fitzpatrick. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So my second quarterback is CJ Stroud, getting back to that Steelers Texans game. So only Kirk Cousins has more dropbacks than CJ Stroud through week 3. The volume, I think, should be there as the Texans are underdogs headed into this game. I think the one thing here that could undercut the volume is that Houston is 20th in pass rate over expected. So it doesn't seem like they really want to like air it out, like let it rip no matter what. It seems like if they get a lead, they'll sit on it a little bit, which is not really what we're looking for. Because Stroud gives you nothing on the ground, but enough through the air. Pittsburgh is a slight pass funnel defense, but also through 3 games, it's really hard to say exactly how a defense is going to be attacked going forward. We have a better idea of that, like at the midway point of the season or around there. But Stroud's fine. I think, if you have him in a deep league and you started him last week, just probably keep going with him.
Yeah. And then index of suspicions referencing Andy Dalton. If Bryce Young doesn't go, I think Andy Dalton's a good play too, from a streaming perspective. If Young doesn't go,
Andy Dalton makes that Panthers offense fantasy viable. So please keep starting Andy Dalton.
Yeah, good environment too against Minnesota. So keep an eye on that. We'll add him to the list if we get more word about the Bryce Young stuff. Let's move on to tight end. I'll kick things off. I'll go with Luke Musgrave, who I think is a smash this week. Really, really good play. He's top 6 in route participation to start the year at tight end. He's top 15 in target share. Detroit's been a top 5 matchup for tight ends this year in adjusted fantasy points allowed. Could be a decent scoring game. I know the over-under is not like absurd, but I don't mind this game environment against Detroit. So I think Luke Musgrave, I mean, he should be rostered in more than 50% of leagues at this point.
Really great usage. I mean, for a rookie too. This is not something you usually see. By the way, Chris in our live chat says Andy Dalton would win 10 games with the Jets. I actually think that's conservative. I think the Jets win the Super Bowl easily with Andy Dalton. That's a great team. Just
Dalton was also like not bad last year in New Orleans. I mean, he's not nearly as bad as people think that he is. He's a competent quarterback.
Listen, as a geriatric millennial, I want some respect for Andy Dalton. Honestly.
Me too.
You're not in my age bracket. Come on.
Am I not considered a geriatric millennial yet?
I don't think so, man. You were born in 89,
88.
So yeah, I think I was in 83. I think that 80 to 83 is geriatric millennial.
I'm gonna Google this while you talk about the next time.
All right, yeah, real quick on Gerald Everett. Horrible route participation rate, 39%. It's in line with Donald Parham. Donald Parham is seeing all the green zone targets. Nevertheless, we persist. Maybe Mike Williams' injury opens up more targets for Everett, and he's playing the Raiders, who have allowed the 3rd most receptions to tight ends this season.
Geriatric millennials are 1980 to 1985.
Okay, so you escape it.
But I have older siblings, and so I really resonate with a lot of the geriatric millennial stuff, right? Like Saved by the Bell, or like a lot of the pop culture stuff. I'm very in tune with geriatric millennials because of my siblings.
So Steven says I'm a Gen Xer. I'm not a Gen Xer. I wasn't born in 1972 or whatever. Come on. Jeez.
Oh man. All right, I'm going to go with a really, really deep play. Denny and I talked about this, and it was like an iffy, should we mention him on the show today or not? But I'm going to say Adam Troutman. I'm only throwing it out there because his route participation has been very, very, very good the last 2 weeks. And they get Chicago. And Chicago's defense is, something's got to give, right? They get Chicago's defense. You got Denver's defense this week. I actually think Justin Fields is not even going to be that bad of a play just because Denver's that bad defensively or has been that bad. But Adam Troutman on the other side, the Chicago defense, putrid. He's running enough routes. Maybe he gets there. It's a deep play because he's not seeing volume. I mean, he's literally the definition of getting cardio.
So it's funny. I blurbed Adam Troutman after the Dolphins Broncos game for Roto World, and I may have said at the end of the blurb, Troutman should not be rostered in any fantasy format now or ever.
Yeah, look, how insane is it that people were thinking that Troutman was better than Greg Dulcich?
Oh, I mean, come on.
Like, I that's the one thing that I wish Greg Dulcich, if he hadn't gotten hurt, I will contend he'd be a top 12 tight end right now.
Oh, absolutely. And he would be doing on limited routes because Sean Payton hates exciting players like Marvin Mims and Dulcich.
Is it by the way, we were just saying the Mike McDaniel thing, him being the most likable coach. Sean Payton's got to be bottom 3, right?
Bottom 3. Yeah. Not the most unlikable.
Yeah. But he's getting there. He's getting there.
Because Belichick exists. So he
That's
can't
true.
be
I think I like Belichick more than Sean Payton.
Oh, really?
I think I do. Yeah. Because at least Belichick has this shtick and this bit that he rolls with, and it's unique from that. Sean Payton is semi unhinged. Like I could see him just being like an insane human.
Right. So Arthur, you're right. I think it's close. Arthur Smith is the most unlikable. Belichick is the second least likable, and then it's Peyton for me.
I think Peyton might be if I were to rank the 32 right now, he might be 32. He might be 32. I hate the arrogance is out of control.
Oh, it is.
And it's for someone who had a Hall of Fame quarterback. And let's not say that he made Drew Brees or whatever. I mean, come on. Like Brees is good. Brees would have probably been good enough, or, like at least close to where he got with Sean Payton. He wins one Super Bowl and everyone thinks that he's this like genius.
I know.
Right.
It is something. I read a profile on ESPN of Sean Payton about a month ago, and boy, he does not come off looking great, man. He comes off as being a bitter old man.
Daniel's saying the arrogance is a bit, though, right? I don't think the arrogance is a bit for Sean Payton. I mean, and did you see the clip of him on Coward a couple years ago when he was saying that Teddy Bridgewater should be the starter or that Teddy Bridgewater would eventually be the starter in Miami and not Tua? Like all of that combined with the Dolphins just crushing and Tua just crushing him in week 3. The good guys won.
Yes. And the Dolphins, by the way, they should have just stepped on the Broncos' necks. Like they should have played Tua throughout. They should have just kept scoring and scoring. The Dolphins, listen, the teal jersey, okay, I'm wearing it right now. The teal jersey and the little dolphin on the helmet, all that stuff is not exactly intimidating, okay? This team has never had a killer instinct. They need to adopt that. And Mike McDaniel seems like a nice guy, maybe too nice to do this. And Tua seems like a nice dude as well. But they need to adopt that mindset and just run roughshod over people and not apologize. Yeah, if they wanted to stop us, they should have stopped us. That's
right. No, I agree. Look, anyone who complains about running up the score in football in a professional environment, like get over yourself.
Maybe
everyone deals with that garbage at work.
Maybe Sean Payton should try to get his players not to quit on him like they did on Sunday. Maybe that would be one solution.
And here's the thing: so people were asking about Russell Wilson in our comments right now on YouTube, and Russell Wilson's not the problem right now. No, he's just not. He's not the problem. Of all the things that are the problem in Denver, it's actually not Russell Wilson. It's like, I mean, there's mental errors across the team, but the defense is just egregious. Just one of the worst. Especially when you have the talent that they have on that defense, it's pathetic that they're doing what they're doing right now.
It's kind of funny to watch the highlights against the Dolphins, and you see like bodies scattered, like Broncos bodies just scattered across the field, and Devin Achane just taking off down the sideline.
It honestly reminded me of I'm coaching Avery's T-ball team right now. I'm an assistant coach. And it reminds me of watching kids play T-ball, and you know how they just the ball gets hit and they all just run towards the ball no matter where they are in the field. That's what it felt like watching that game, is that they just were just going to the ball. They just had no idea what they were doing. It reminded me of the T-ball game.
They actually had somebody lined up one-on-one with Tyreek Hill throughout that game. One-on-one. Come on. You can't be serious. All right. Jake, don't call me Turd Ferguson. And I swear to God, you better not call him Turd. Not on this air, folks. Not on this stream.
No, we respect Turd Ferguson. Jake Ferguson.
Jake Ferguson. We do not call him Turd Ferguson. Do not call him. Okay. Up to 51% route rate in week 3. That's not terrible, I guess. Cowboys seem content with checking down. Ferguson is tied for the team lead with 7 targets against Arizona. He now leads the NFL in red zone targets at 8. I don't really know how that's possible, but those are pretty high value targets. So you can continue streaming Jake Ferguson. I swear to God, if you call him Turd.
Let's go to defense. I didn't realize that this defense was rostered in excuse me. Rostered in the number of leagues that it's rostered in. But the Bengals, they're actually available in like 62% of leagues right now. They get Tennessee. Tennessee stinks. They're the 7th best opponent for defenses in adjusted fantasy points allowed. Bengals have the 11th best sack rate so far this year. 2.5-point favorites, 40.5-point over/under according to FanDuel Sportsbook. The process.
The process, exactly. All right, are we on to?
You have one defense.
I have one defense. Seahawks at versus against the Giants. One of the lowest totals of the week, so that's pretty good. Giants are listed as 1-point favorite, I guess, which is weird. The Seahawks had the 8th highest pressure rate this season, and I will spare you the numbers, but Daniel Jones's numbers drop off the face of the earth when facing pressure, so we have that going for us.
And then the last one, oddly, we're going to go with, sorry, I'm looking at something really quick. The last one we're going to go with is Denver against Chicago, which I understand. We just talked so much junk on this Denver defense, and then we're saying, hey, by the way, throw them in your fantasy lineup this week. They're getting Chicago. Every defense that's faced Chicago so far this year in fantasy is ranked as a top 5 defense. They're averaging over 4 sacks per game taken, surrendered. Denver defense doesn't generate that much pressure, but I do think they should be able to get a couple of sacks because against Chicago, what do you have, Denny?
You have a sack-based floor.
You do.
Sack-based floor.
So I think Denver is okay.
Yeah, and look, if you want to look at a metric here, you look at the fire in the belly metric, and nobody is going to have more fire in and around their bellies than the Denver defenders. That's what I'll say this week.
Good for the Cardinals, by the way. Good for that coaching staff. Good for them. Good. Josh Dobbs, another super likable guy. Did you see his TikTok, by the way?
No.
Where Micah Parsons was talking junk, saying that he was going to like be throwing darts, or I can't remember how he phrased it. Something about like darts to Josh Dobbs, right? Like he was going to sack him a lot or whatever. And then Dobbs takes that clip, cuts to him in like an alley, like in his house, and someone's throwing darts at him, and he's like going back and forth, like avoiding them.
That's funny.
And then so he's like, it's one of the better stories of the season is the Josh Dobbs stuff. It's fun.
And Josh Dobbs, another guy who would easily win the Super Bowl with the Jets. So that's
this
something.
Point. Yeah.
But by the way, the Cardinals are feisty. I have to hand it to them. They're very feisty. They try very hard, and you just didn't see that coming. So adjust your ranks.
Jonathan Gannon, man, good for you. Good for you, brother.
There you go.
To recap, we got the Bengals, Seahawks, Broncos, Troutman, Ferguson, Musgrave, Everett, CJ Stroud, Jimmy G, Jameis, and Kenny. All right, Denny, let's get to these questions on Twitter.
Right.
First one's from @80_JRod. This week, if folks in the neighborhood are putting up Halloween crap up in September, are we allowed to refer them to the HOA for crimes against the neighborhood? The heat index is still 100 degrees Fahrenheit. What in the giant F are we doing? This is a kids podcast, so I can't say the
this is primarily for children. I guess you live in Arizona where it's 100 still, but here it's 50 degrees and raining, and it has been for 10 days straight. So I guess you could get away. But yeah, I mean, you could get the HOA involved. You could get the federal government, maybe the United Nations. I mean, someone to stop the madness. It's just too soon, but not too soon. By the way, a week from now, I will let you put up your Halloween stuff.
My wife did not leave me. She put our Halloween stuff out and decorated this past weekend with my daughter, and I got mad. I was actually angry at her.
Well, listen, if you had stuck by your guns, you would have left.
That's true. She says, didn't we learn anything from the pandemic? And what she means by that is you just do anything that brings joy to your life. Like it does not matter when or what, because like with COVID, people were like into Christmas that year, the in 2020, people were into Christmas on like October 15th that year.
I do recall that, and it was hard to say anything at the time. I will admit that.
But now we can say things.
We can get back to shaming people. I think that's the key here. We must shame people into operating in a very certain way.
The best part is that my daughter and wife made these ghosts, right, that they put on the front doorstep. So it's like they put like little beach balls and they put sheets over it, and then Avery was able to design the ghosts like on the sheet, right, like the face and stuff like that. It's very cute. It's like a cute little craft, and they're big though. They're like probably 4 feet tall. And yesterday we ordered DoorDash And we always have the food left on our front porch instead of like talking, because who wants to talk to another human? And so, they come and they drop off the food on the front doorstep, and then they take a picture of it, and then they'll send you the picture when the DoorDash arrives, right? So that you can see in your email. And it's hilarious just looking at these two ghosts standing there with this food next to them. That's what our front door situation looks like.
Yeah. Is your front yard like well lit at night?
Yeah, it's pretty well lit.
All right, because I was gonna say you can mistake them for people walking around your.
Yeah. She did put like some like lights inside too. So now like through our front door, because we have some windows in the front door, through our front door, there's just like orange lights coming in now, and it's gonna be like that apparently for the next month and a half because they decorated so freaking early.
Hey, all right, it is too early, but that's a lot of effort. I commend it. I gotta hand it to Amanda. That's good stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot. Next question at Justin White VA. Keenan Allen was one of my most drafted best ball wide receivers and on both of my dynasty rosters. So I faded him in season-long drafts for diversification's sake. I now hate myself and eat lunch daily at Arby's. Do you hedge in similar ways across leagues, or am I playing fantasy in beta mode?
I hedge.
Yeah, I hedge too, but I've learned that I need to not hedge I need to go after my guys more in my season-long leagues than my best ball drafts, because you're looking at your season-long leagues every single week, all the time. You're laying in bed at night, and it's the last thing you look at when you go to sleep, and the first thing you look at when you wake up. Oh, that's just me. But you're looking at your redraft leagues all the time, and you're seeing these rosters. And I'd rather, like for instance, and this is gonna be a back patting moment, but bear with me here.
All right.
Devon Achane is one of my highest rostered running backs in best ball. Like I really like drafting Achane this year. In my season long leagues, I realized that I don't have nearly enough. I mean, I have him in some leagues, but versus how much I liked him this season, I don't have as much as I would have liked. So, and I would rather have that flipped. I'd rather have more of him in season long because I'm managing it. I'm seeing him. I'm throwing in my lineup. I'm facing opponents that I know, right?
Yeah,
as opposed to best ball, you don't know who they are for the most part. And so that's the only thing that I'll throw out there that's been frustrating for me this year. Like I have way more Puka Nacua in best ball than I do season long. It's very frustrating.
Wait, you have more Puka in season long than best ball?
No, the other more in best ball than season long. And I have some exposure, but it's not to the point where I'm like so overweight like I am in best ball with those players.
Right. I don't have any Achane in redraft. I will be honest with you. I have Mostert. I do not have Achane. So Sunday was tough for me in that respect. I lucked into Achane a few times. And by lucked, I mean I timed out and got Achane in several best ball leagues. So that's the process. If you want to talk about the process, that's the process.
Yeah, just don't draft. Next question is from our buddy at Swervin Swervin. He says, in an effort to gain more tourism than their neighbor to the north, South Dakota has decided to carve more faces into Mount Rushmore and have hired Living the Stream to design it. Which 4 streamers from this show's history make up Mount Streammore?
Oh, well, I think that's pretty easy. I mean, Alex Smith.
Alex Smith is one.
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I'd say probably Fitzpatrick. I'd also say Tyrod Taylor.
Yes.
So there's 3. We need one more. We probably should throw a tight end in there.
Oh.
Instead of going quarterback.
Oh. Julius, what's his name?
Julius Thomas.
Julius Thomas.
I think Julius Thomas is probably a good one because that was one of the best calls in the show's history, was you touting Julius Thomas before that week 1 blow up.
When he went crazy and then became, I think, the tight end 2 on the season. But yeah, I think those guys make sense. Terrell Pryor? I don't know. Terrell Pryor?
Yeah, maybe Pryor. Maybe. I think that the 3 quarterbacks the other random tight end that I thought of was Scott Chandler. Oh my gosh. You know who we're forgetting? Niles Paul.
Charles Clay.
Can we have 2 Mount Rushmore?
We need Charles Clay.
Please. Someone in chat says JJ's an S-tier reader. Probably killed it during popcorn reading in elementary school. I'm not an S-tier reader at all. If you mean S-tier as in the worst.
No, that's good. No. When the Zoomers say S tier, that's
No, I
good.
know. Oh, I'm aware, but I'm saying S tier. I don't think that I'm S tier.
Oh, okay.
What is the Zoomers in their S tier talk for?
I don't. It's something about video games. I don't know.
Oh, okay. It's like okay.
There's F tier, S tier. My kids are always talking about all these tiers. I have no idea what any of it means. I literally have never.
What video game is Xavier playing right now?
What's the one where you join people and you fight other people on an island? Fortnite.
Oh, Fortnite. Yeah, he's playing Fortnite.
Yeah, he's big into Fortnite.
Why do you say that so? Like you're so depressed?
I mean, I'd rather him not play hyper violent video games.
Look, I played hyper violent video games and I turned out okay.
I
have empathy.
I did too. I did too. I played Doom on my computer nonstop in 1995. So
yeah, I mean it's fine. It's fine. My daughter actually started playing Roblox with her cousins a little bit.
Yes, that's great, isn't it?
Roblox is a great game, and you can also. She hasn't ventured into like building things or anything yet, but like yeah, that's you got to be older to even comprehend that kind of thing. But yeah, it's like a really good introduction to just gaming in general, and it's also like not a bad. It's pretty harmless for the most part.
Did you see that there's a new Goosebumps series coming out on Hulu?
Yeah. Wait, who's starring in that? Is Justin Long in that?
Justin Long.
Yeah.
So it's coming out on Friday the 13th, next month in October.
Are you excited? Were you a Goosebumps reader?
Oh, bigly, yes.
Okay.
Huge Goosebumps, huge Fear Street, and Fear Street. That was a little risque. There was a little kissing, a little hand holding, a little touching, not quite adult stuff, but a little bit of mature content, some blood, some death in Fear Street. So I got into Fear Street big time. It made me feel very mature and old. And I told my younger brother, you can't handle this, dude. You just can't handle Fear Street. Stick to Goosebumps. Do yourself a favor.
The only thing that I remember about Goosebumps is you'll be shocked to hear this is the Goosebumps commercial where they had a board game. It was the should I imitate the beginning of it right now?
I do find it amazing that you have this sort of thing stored away in your brain, but go ahead.
It starts like this, okay? And you guys can Google this. It's Goosebumps Terror in the Graveyard Game, because the beginning of the commercial goes Goosebumps Terror in the Graveyard Game, and then there's like these people that are in the background. They're going like, "Run for your life," and like they're like saying these things, like these like things to frighten you. You should YouTube. We're on YouTube right now. We like the platform. You should YouTube Goosebumps Terror in the Graveyard Game and see if I'm right with the beginning there.
I have no doubt that you are right. You are a vault of 90s advertising knowledge that got to you. They inserted their messaging into your brain and it stayed forever. So.
It's my brain. Imagine if my brain was used to not store that and fantasy football statistics.
I can't even imagine your potential, your brain potential.
You're right. It would be so much better. Legends of the Hidden Temple is on Paramount Plus, and it is incredible. Someone says Legends of the Hidden Temple was a fantastic show growing up.
I'm unfamiliar. What is this?
How do you not know Legends of the Hidden Temple?
Is that an Indiana Jones movie?
No, this is not okay. I gotta sit back and bring my microphone back right now. This is okay. Do I sound different right now after I changed like that?
No. You sound totally the same.
Well, that's what I get for spending money on a microphone. So like, thank God, right? So Legends of the Hidden Temple was a Nickelodeon show where it was a game show, and you had all of these different teams of two, boy-girl pairings, and they all had different. They were all like the green monkeys and the silver snakes and the orange iguanas, right? They had all these different teams, and then they had rounds where they would compete in different like physical activities, and then they had like a trivia round, and then at the very end, they had to go through the temple and collect these. I can't remember what they called them. They had to collect these little temple like tokens and then bring them back and come out of the temple. But when they were in the temple, Denny, you might not care about this, but anyone listening, because 90% of our audience has watched Legends of the Hidden Temple, and they're all going to get blasted with nostalgia right now. Okay. When you were in the temple at the end, you were walking through, it was like a picture a house, like a doll house, how you can see the different rooms, right? But imagine being a human walking through a dollhouse. You didn't know what each room was going to kind of have, what obstacles you were going to have or whatever. And there were temple guards littered throughout this thing. And so you'd enter a room and these temple guards that had like sort of like this, like, like tribal garb on, right? Like they had like the feathers and stuff. They would jump out and just scare the living crap out of these 8-year-olds that were on this show, or these 10-year-olds that were on this show.
Canceled.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I know. I'm letting you know what it was like. And so there was also in the show, there was the host Kirk Fogg who wore the best, sort of Indiana Jones-esque outfit, sort of an explorer outfit, right? Like a denim button up with like these really short, not even cargo shorts, but like khaki shorts. And then, some boots. And then there was a rock named Olmec, and he could talk. And Olmec would sort of let people know what was going on in the game. So I can't believe you've never seen Legends of the Hidden Temple before.
I've never even heard of it. I've never even heard
How
of
is that even have you heard of Global Guts?
No.
Did you ever watch Nickelodeon growing up?
Well, that's the thing. I probably stopped completely watching Nickelodeon like around like 94, 95.
Yeah, so you probably watched, did you watch like Nick Arcade?
That sounds familiar.
Nick Arcade, where they had that little Mikey avatar, like that. Anyway, I'm not going to get into all these Nickelodeon shows. I was a Nickelodeon guy, clearly. I know.
You were.
I know my Nickelodeon, and you are missing out by not having watched Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Well, I mean, I remember the green goo, whatever that was, and then I remember Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah, you would like Are You Afraid of the Dark? Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't recall. I'm sorry, man. I'm not. People are making fun of me in the comments saying that I must be like misremembering, or like I actually have like brain damage. I actually have never heard of this. I promise.
You have to be like, this is just playing into the fact that you really are not even an elder millennial.
Are you saying I'm a Gen Xer?
I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there.
By the way, this is a really funny comment. I'm not sure the name is unpronounceable, but it said my buddies and I would pause before the episode started and draft the team before seeing the contestants on this show. Awesome. Kept score +1 if they make it to the temple, +3 if they win. That's sick. That's sick, and I like it. That's funny.
That's amazing. There's people that like wear like for Halloween that have been Legends of the Hidden Temple like teams, because you wear like like a helmet and like knee pads and elbow pads and stuff, and then you have your silver snake shirt or green monkey shirt. I actually should go purchase one after this because I'm gonna wear it next week's show. That's my
You should.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Next question at John Football Seed. It says, what is worse for your health, putting together IKEA furniture or deciding to start a Bears player?
Oh, well, the Bears thing sucks. By the way, if you put together IKEA furniture or any furniture with your significant other, the amount of "that's what she said" jokes you could tell is actually unbelievable. It's infinite. Everything you say during that process of putting the thing together is what she said. So just remember that next time.
I also think one of the best ways to see where your relationship is at with your significant other is to go on an IKEA trip.
Oh, yeah.
Walk through that store for 2 hours. See how you're feeling after that.
Yeah. If you don't murder the other one, then you should be okay.
Then you should get married. That's right. Yeah.
Right. Immediately. Just go straight to the chapel.
Yeah. Little people know who haven't been to IKEA before. It's just a bloodbath. There's just dead people everywhere.
It's just corpses. It's like the Walking Dead set.
Next question at Tilt to Buddhism. I watch football with my 5-year-old son, and there are commercials with scary movie trailers that leave me scrambling for the remote.
Yeah.
Do you remember any movie trailers from when you were a kid that ended up giving you nightmares? Mine was the sci-fi horror film Species.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Lawnmower Man scared the.
What is Lawnmower Man?
Lawnmower Man.
That sounds like a level in Roblox.
Right. Lawnmower Man was, I believe, a Keanu Reeves horror movie from the early 90s, like a techno dystopia horror movie about virtual reality, possibly. Anyway, that scared me. Total Recall scared me like beyond imagination. But I know what this person's talking about. I know they're talking about the daggone way too scary Exorcist trailer that's on TV right now. That stuff should not. I'm sorry. Look, maybe I'm old. Maybe it's because I'm a dad. Whatever. I'm sorry. It shouldn't be on TV. Shouldn't be for everybody to consume. Now, am I going to see the movie? I would kill someone to see the movie. Okay, like that. I just want to be clear. Right. No one will stop me from seeing that movie, but that stuff is too scary. If my daughter saw that, she would need therapy for 18 months.
Right. I tend to agree. You can't in one breath say we want young fans to get into this game and then in the next have these types of trailers. Like it's just it's tough. It's tough on the kids.
Have you seen the Exorcist trailer?
Yeah, it's horror. It's frightening. I don't like scary movies enough to even want to watch the trailer.
It's too much. Way too much.
Yeah, it's a lot. We'll do one more question this week. This is from @stairway-to-Evan17. I didn't realize this until I saw this question. Why is The Office getting rebooted when no one works in offices anymore? Also, when will the mainstream media finally address the fact that Tom Everett Scott is steamrolling the listener league? Number one, this is true. Tom's team is absolutely destroying he's going to go undefeated and win that league unless something drastic happens.
Does he have A-Chan?
I don't remember who's on the roster, but he's destroying everyone. Let's talk about this Office situation. Did you know they're rebooting The Office? I didn't know that until literally just now, and I had to Google it, and I saw that there are articles about them rebooting The Office.
So, yeah, Tom has a great team. I hate you, Tom. Look, I didn't hear this. I don't even know what to think about this. So when you say rebooting, do you mean the original cast?
I don't know. I would assume no. This is an article. Well, I can't view it right now because I have an ad blocker on. But it looks like after the strike, there is a Office reboot that has been in the works. But I don't know. Here, look, it says actors like Steve Carell and John Krasinski seem unlikely to return, but Jenna Fisher and Angela Kinsey currently run an Office-themed podcast, so they might be down. So they're just speculating about who would be in and out of this show. My take is, no, don't do this.
No, God,
please, you cannot do this. What are you guys thinking?
We don't need this. Please just think of one original idea. We haven't had original media in 20 years. There has not been one new Marvel movie.
Yeah, there's just a new Marvel movie and Fast and the Furious. That's all we get. That's all we get.
That's it. All we get is nostalgia just shoved into our eyeballs 365 days a year. No, this is horrible. This is bad news.
Right. Bad news. I'm the nostalgia king.
Me too. I like it, but I mean, I also recognize it's poisonous.
Right. It's not good. Like, we need something good. And here's the crazy thing is that like the writer strike that's going on, I don't know a ton about the writer strike, so I could be just talking, but a lot of it's like AI based and stuff and like having like new creative ideas that are coming from humans and stuff like that. And then you're going to turn around and do this
and make the reboot. But listen, so I know Jenna Fisher is involved. Pam, for those who don't know, is involved in that podcast, a very popular podcast. She would seem to be, maybe interested in doing this. But if Jim's not coming back, you know what that means, JJ? They're going to have to kill Jim off. They're going to have to kill him. They're going to have to say Jim died.
Yeah, or if Jenna comes, if Pam comes back, what are they going to actually play up the divorce thing? Does she get with, what was his name, Brian, the mic guy, the camera guy?
Honestly, maybe Tom Everett Scott can come back and woo Pam.
That's right. Yeah, I mean that I would watch that. I would watch Tom. I would watch Tom on the Office reboot. That's the only way I'm watching the reboot.
But they're gonna have to kill Jim. I can't get over it.
They can get Asian Jim to do it.
That guy's on a commercial, by the way.
Do you know how many cancelable things there were on The Office? That it's crazy to go back and watch those.
Yeah, it's only from like 12 years ago. Like, I know. And you watch it and you're like, what?
I still contend though it's a brilliant show, and people who don't like The Office, I don't know if I can be friends with you.
Oh yeah, there's a Frasier reboot in the works.
No,
yeah, man, Frasier, and it doesn't have his. I don't think it has his brother. The dad died.
Are they all alive? Like, how is this even? When did Frasier end?
Oh God, like 2002, 3.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how is there a Frasier reboot?
The Frasier, and he's like with the Zoomers now. Oh, it's going to be so spectacularly terrible.
Did you watch Frasier?
I did, and I liked it very much.
Oh, I didn't. I couldn't get into it. It just wasn't my cup of tea. Wasn't my cup of tea.
I actually bought Melissa the entire box set of Frasier for Christmas, probably Christmas 2000, 2001.
Oh my gosh, they definitely do not need Frasier. They don't need Frasier.
No,
they don't need The Office. Just come up with a new freaking idea.
Was it just one? We're not asking for much. Just one idea.
Just one. Even if you're doing like a Better Call Saul versus Break, like that's at least something new. That's at least something, not the exact same cast, not the same. We don't need another Office. We don't need more Frasier. We just don't need more of it.
I'm going to lose my mind.
Awful. Anyway. All right, Denny, that's it for today's show. Let everyone know where they can find you.
Yeah, at CD Carter 13 on X, on Instagram, other places of that nature. You can find my regression files piece on NBC Sports on Wednesday morning.
I'm on Twitter at Late Round QB. I'm not a sellout like Denny. I call it Twitter. I'm on Instagram at Late Round FF as well. Denny, we have a tilt montage. I saw you sent me a tilt montage. I haven't even listened to it, but I saw you sent it.
I think it's good. I think the folks will like it.
So I won't have the tilt montage for the live stream, but I will absolutely have it for the podcast. So if you guys want to listen to it, you can download the podcast. Otherwise, thanks for listening, everyone. We will catch you next week.
Thank you for listening to Live in the Stream. We hope you enjoyed the internet podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes now. It won't take long, it's fast. For more fantasy football info, check out
LateRound.com and NBC Sports Edge.
Hope you come back soon as we share about the teams